Well, I can't see anything because I don't have my glasses on, so.
You're in the show, everyone can see you and hear you.
Well, I cut it back on instead of turning it off. So, hey, hi everybody. Glad you're here with us this evening for another edition of Studio Tenn Talks. On Wednesday nights, we've been meeting our staff, and we've gone through all of our staff at this point. So we decided to transition this week to meeting our board members. And so tonight we've got with us Tony and Lynne McAlister. And so you guys want to wave, say hi, or sitting there on their couch in Franklin. So we're glad that they're here, glad that anybody that's watching, that you are here. And it'll be just a great chance to get to know Tony and Lynne tonight, and then we'll talk to some other board members as we go forward. So one kind of announcement that we do have this week is Patrick will be on Sunday night with Studio Tenn Talks, the conversations with Patrick Cassidy. This week he's got Jason Danieley that's going to be on the show. And so that should be a great conversation. And if you've missed any of the other conversations that he has had, you can see those on our website at studiotenn.com. They're all listed there, and there's some great ones. The ones, with Susan Egan and Rex Smith and Adam Pascal. The one from this past week with Emily Skinner was just great, with her being in New York throughout this whole coronavirus saga and kind of getting her her insights on what it's like to be there in the city. Those have just been great. Another thing that you can find that's new on the website, we actually have some new educational offerings that are classes that take place every week, but there are also some private lessons that you can sign up for that are now on the website, and be looking for some other opportunities for things that are going to take place over the summer as well, where if you've got kids or grandkids, you can get them signed up to be a part of that. And so all that's on our website at studiotenn.com. So tonight, Tony and Lynne, we get to share. So you guys are,
and Coco.
And Coco. Where's Coco? You should be holding Coco.
We should be. She's hiding back in the back.
See, when she hears voices, she doesn't understand where they're coming from. It's like, how these people get in our house. William. See, there's William. Look at she's there.
Coco. Coco.
Hey. Hello. There we go.
Coco, see William.
See William.
There you go.
Hey.
They say you should never perform with dogs or children.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, I think Coco is probably more interested in y'all than me. And so that's okay. I'm used to it. My animals treat me the same way.
This is coming from, it helps.
Yeah. How old is Coco?
Coco is 9. She had her birthday in February.
Awesome.
Yeah. She's a good girl. She's trained us very well.
They have a tendency to do that. I actually just saw this great video earlier of, I don't know if you've seen it. I saw it last week on Reddit, and then I saw it, somebody posted it on Facebook today. But have you seen this picture of it's like these golden retrievers on the steps, and somebody's trying to take a picture of their golden retrievers. And I think if I remember correctly, they even have them like in clothes. And they have a cat as well. And the cat is over on the side, and like it's the oldest girl or the biggest of the golden retrievers goes over and gets the cat by the collar and pulls it around and like puts it in the front, in the middle, like where it wants it to sit. And then the cat tries to walk away, and the golden retriever just sticks his paw on his back. Just like holds it. It's like, literally, it's like, you're supposed to be here. Say.
It's good to know that he has a directorial side to him.
Yeah, totally. So it was really, really cool. So, well, thank you guys for doing this. This is This is like I say, this has been a whole lot of fun just getting to know the different people. And I know people probably oftentimes see you guys at shows because you're at a lot of shows. And Tony, you serve as our board chairman at Studio Tenn. Lynne is on the board as well, oversees the development committee and works on sponsorships and volunteers and all kinds of stuff. And so we're so appreciative of both of you. So I know that I've probably been told this, but I honestly have forgotten this. And just so everybody else knows, where'd you guys meet?
We met at Shakespeare in the Park.
Wow. Here in Nashville?
In Nashville, yeah.
Yeah, Centennial Park. Many years ago, they were doing the play Comedy of Errors.
Okay.
And I was co-directing it, and that seemed very appropriate for our meeting, Comedy of Errors.
Okay.
And like I said, several years ago, Lynne was really, really young. She'd just gotten out of grade school, and so we met there.
Wow. And so, so did you guys, I know, Tony, I know you have a love for Shakespeare. You even directed some, is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Did you act as well?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me that. How much did you do that? How big is that in your story?
Well, I did. That's kind of how I got started in theater, was acting.
Okay.
Started out in school, in high school. And we grew up in a small rural community, but we had a math teacher who had a minor in drama, and he started a drama class my junior year. And so we decided that my best friend and I were looking at the different classes to go take. And we said, well, let's go check out this drama class. So we go down the hall and stick our head in there. And it was he and I and 14 girls. And we said, this is a class for us.
That's the place to be. That's right.
And I've been in love with theater ever since.
Wow.
I had a English lit teacher that same year who really stressed Shakespeare a lot. And he used Macbeth to teach Shakespeare to us. And I kind of fell in love with Shakespeare and Macbeth. And so fast forward many, many years later, I'm on the board at the National Shakespeare Festival, and I directed their very first production of Macbeth at Shakespeare in the Park in Centennial Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I did do, as you asked about acting, I did a lot of acting in different venues all over Nashville and different types of plays. But I did a few Shakespeare plays, and the Shakespeare Festival started in 1988 with As You Like It in the park. And I was there as an audience member. And one of the famous things from that, I was there the night that, the actors had just got there. They just first time they'd done the show at production time, and they did not quite realize that the sun was going to go down when it went down. And so in the second act of the play, you couldn't see it. So because they didn't have any lights, they didn't have any sound. It was just actors in somewhat of a costume doing As You Like It, doing it beautifully, I might add. But they asked all of us audience members to pull our cars up onto the grass and turn our headlights on. And that's how we watched the last half of As You Like It, All the World's Stage, and under the car headlights, pulled up on the grass at Centennial Park. Of course, if you did that today, they would shoot you and put you in jail.
Yeah.
Back then, in the old days, the Parthenon was still new. You could do that sort of thing. But that was 1988. The very next year, I actually performed for Shakespeare in the Park. So that was my first time behind the camera, so to speak, with Shakespeare in the Park. And I was in the play Pericles, which we just did this last summer. And I played Bolt, who was a pimp running a house of ill repute. Yeah. And that seemed fitting somehow. But that's another story for
another time. So where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Linden, Tennessee, Perry County. It's about 100 miles southwest of here. I tell people it's not nowhere, but you can see nowhere from there.
Okay. I grew up in one of those towns as well.
Yeah.
They play basketball there.
Okay.
We were known to be a basketball community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Won the state championship pretty much every year I was in high school. And
that's awesome.
I was acting like I was a basketball player.
You were acting like you're okay. All right. Yeah. Very cool. And so, Lynne, you're from the area as well. Like, where did you go to school and such?
I actually am one of the original Franklinites.
Okay.
Unicorn.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's like 12 of, it's like really, really small group.
It is. I I went to Miss Inga's kindergarten, which is still here on Battle Avenue. And then I went to the Franklin City Schools, which are now called FSSD. We used to say the whole thing. And Franklin City. Yeah, anyway.
Special school.
And special school district. That's it. And then I went to Brentwood Academy.
Okay.
And then I went to David Lipscomb. And I often tell people that for many years I didn't get off of Gurney White Pike because it was Brentwood Academy and David Lipscomb. And I worked at Phi Madison, which was right off of Gurney White Pike. And I went to church at Brentwood Church of Christ, which was right off Gurney White Pike. And so being in downtown Franklin is very exciting.
Ways from Gurney White Pike.
So. The good 15 miles from Gurney White Pike.
Yeah. So I know that you spent time in London. And so like when you were there, did you get to like kind of chase your Shakespeare, did you get to see a lot of Shakespeare? Did you just kind of dive in and partake?
Yes. We saw a lot of Shakespeare. I am now a Shakespeare fan.
Okay.
I mean, if you can't, the National and the RSC and the Globe, all of them, they perform it absolutely beautifully. And you can't help but fall in love with it. Tony kind of breezed over the fact that he's a Macbeth fan. We've probably seen Macbeth 30, 40 times maybe. I mean, I've seen it in Polish. I've seen it without words. I've seen it as dancing. I've seen it indoors and outdoors. I've seen a lot.
Seen it in Gaelic.
In Gaelic, yes.
One of the best ones was the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. We saw Macbeth performed in Gaelic in a graveyard.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, wow.
That does sound. It said,
in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
That was set. When did Liberia? Is that right?
It was set in Liberia. Liberia.
I know we weren't in Liberia,
okay.
but
we were in London.
But it was an old warehouse, and it was sort of Liberia about maybe the 70s when they, had the gangs with the pink wigs. You remember that kind of time?
Yeah.
And so when you walked in the door, you were part of the action, and they physically hustled you through, and they had machine guns, and it was fun and terrifying at the same time.
It was immersive theater.
Very immersive.
You know what I mean? And you actually got to pay extra. You could go into the scene where they kill Lady Macduff, not to spoil the plot for anybody. You could go into where they killed her and see what they did to her. Then they also allowed us to sit at the table when they had the big feast, when Banquo's Ghost comes back. We sat at the table with the cast and ate dinner and watched Banquo's Ghost.
But there was furniture all around, so everybody, you always felt like you were in the den. I mean, it was really well done too.
Yeah. Did you guys? I know there's a lot of immersive work in London. Did you see other pieces?
We did. Matter of fact, not terribly long ago in London is the first time we saw Punch Drunk.
Okay.
Do a show, and they did a show called The Drowning Man. And I didn't know the piece, the actual play it was based on. I didn't know anything about Punch Drunk at the time. And so Lynne and I bought tickets, and we took a taxi over to the address that was on the ticket, which was a warehouse near Paddington Station. Mm-hmm. And there was a door with this big guy standing by the door, and that was all there was. And we said, we're here. Is this the right place? And he said, nothing, and opened the door. And we walked in, and you know what Punch Drunk's like. Yeah. And it became an experience that we had 5 floors in a big warehouse by Paddington that we roamed through this play that was all set in the wrap of a movie studio, and the wrap party of a movie studio. Mm-hmm. And it was absolutely fascinating. I fell in love with it. No words, all dance. And it was a great storytelling experience. So when I read about Punch Drunk, I heard about Sleep No More, which is based on Macbeth. Right. And of course, they had already done that in London and moved it to the U.S. And so I thought, well, I'll never get to see that. But lo and behold, when we moved back to the U.S., it was in New York, and Lynne took me there as a present. And I've since seen Sleep No More 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. You can never see it too much.
No, okay.
Pretty much every time I'm there, I try to figure out a way to make it. But that's really cool. Oh, you just said it was close to Paddington Station. It wasn't Drowning Man. They did another piece. And I can't remember. I remember reading about the Drowning Man. They did another one that was like in a museum or something, but I don't remember which one that was.
I don't know that. It's very likely. They're quite prolific there.
Yeah. And you went a bunch to the National Theater when you lived there.
We did. You know, what I like to tell people, because we've lived in a variety of places, California, North Carolina, London twice, Tennessee. Lynn always likes to say if we'd pay our bills, we wouldn't have to keep moving. But what we also like to do is, even if I can't participate in theater as a performer, director, producer, whatever, we like to participate strongly as an audience member. And what we found is London's got a nice little theater scene. We discovered that. And so we started going and seeing some of their theater. And I don't know what you know about it, but they've got some pretty cool theaters over there.
They have a few.
I keep telling them, if they keep it up, they're gonna have to go pro.
Yeah, they're gonna definitely have to. So, did you this will tell you a lot about me, that this is what I think of when I think about the National Theater. And I don't know. So like, if you walk down the river there and you go like past the Millennium Bridge, like what's that walkway called? Does it have a name? Like when you're walking down the side of the Thames?
The area is South Bank.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if the walkway is called anything or not. It might be.
The other side's Embankment, right?
Yeah, Embankment, where the Embankment Tube and the whole Embankment area. But they call that South Bank. But I suspect that walkway probably has some name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time we were there, which was just a couple of years ago, there's a lot more restaurants there now. Yeah. And a lot of restaurants made out of shipping containers. Mm-hmm. They've put a lot of those up, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All the way from Millennium Bridge. If you're up at Millennium Bridge, you're walking down toward the National. Mm-hmm. Or if you cross at Embankment, the footbridge at Embankment, you walk the other way toward the National, which I used to work right near there. And so we'd always run across that bridge to get to the theater, because we always, as you've noticed, we always show up just right after curtain.
You've been late.
But see, I always, when I was going back and forth there from work, I think I've told you this before, there's that Hilton South Bank that's right there behind the Tate. And I love Nando's. And so, did you ever eat at Nando's?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the Millennium Bridge and go right, there's one right down there on the path. And so I would always route my travels. However I did it, somewhere or another, I had to find Nando's.
I think there's a Nando's in DC.
There isn't. Oh yes, there is. I have frequented it. So.
Portuguese chicken anywhere.
It is, yeah, I wish. Actually, we were coming back. Aubrey was in a show at Chaffin's. And, when she was doing the show out there, she wasn't driving yet. So I had to drive her back and forth out there all the time. And I finally got to one point where I was like, okay, I just need a different route. So I looked at it, and it's not all that much longer to go from Chaffin's to Fairview, and then 840 right out here. It's longer miles wise, but by the time you get on 840, you can kind of make up some time. But we're riding through Fairview, and one of my kids said, "Dad, there's a Nando's," and I bet I broke my neck turning around, not even thinking there can't be a Nando's in Fairview. And I turned and looked, and there is, but it's like a burrito place.
Oh. That's not fair.
That was not fair, not one bit at all. So that's awesome. And so now, go ahead. You're going to say something.
I was just going to say, back to the National, you mentioned the National. We're big fans of the National and most of the theaters in London, to be honest. But over in that area, you've got the National and you've also got the Globe. Mm-hmm. So we went to the Globe quite often, saw a lot of Shakespeare there. That's the first time we ever saw Mark Rylance. I don't know if you know the actor Mark Rylance.
I don't.
He is American-born, raised in Britain, and he may, and not to step on anybody's toes here, but he may be the finest stage actor in the world right now, in my opinion, and lots of other people's opinion.
Well, spell his last name. I'm going to look just to see.
Right, Rylance.
Okay. And so when you look him up, Google some of his acceptance of awards.
Oh yeah,
because he does it unlike anybody else, and he's won both. What do they call it in London? Olivier's.
Yeah, Olivier Awards, and won Tony Awards.
And Tony's here.
But if you watch his Tony acceptance speech, here it's amazing.
Yep.
He just does poetry. It's incredible.
Wow. But I've seen him in things, but didn't know who he was. Okay.
Rylance. He's done a few movies, so you would have seen him. Bridge of Spies, Steven Spielberg. Mm-hmm. He was in that. What was it? Dunkirk. He was in Dunkirk. Yeah. But he's more known for the stage. And what we saw him do for the first time, didn't have a clue who he was. He was the first artistic director for the Globe. But by the time we saw him, he'd already moved on. Now he was back acting. But he was doing Twelfth Night. And they did which the National Shakespeare Festival is planning on doing this summer, by the way. Just a little plug there. Assuming they get to do a show this summer.
Right.
But he was doing Twelfth Night, and they did an all-male version of Twelfth Night, just the way Shakespeare would have done it in his day.
Right.
And he was playing Ophelia. No, not Ophelia. Ophelia's Hamlet. Olivia. And he came out dressed as this woman, and for the first second, you thought, well, that's a man playing a woman. And that's the last time you ever thought that.
Huh.
He was a woman from then on, and he was just amazing.
He floated across the stage.
He did float.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have to check. I wonder, because, the National Theater is streaming a lot of stuff for free. I wonder if there are any of his performances that are up. I can go look.
You can go look. Maybe so. He's great to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. So, when you guys got back here, how did you get connected to Studio Tenn?
Well, that would be me.
Okay.
Well, not really, only from the board perspective, because as soon as we moved back, we saw a poster for at that time, I think it was the first thing we saw, Fiddler on the Roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we immediately started buying tickets and became season ticket holders. And so has it been 3 years ago? Trish Monroe asked if I would like to get involved with Studio Tenn in some capacity. And we were huge fans already, so I jumped at the chance. So I was on the board for several months. And obviously, because Tony really knows a lot more about theater than I do, we talked about everything a lot. And we got to know the staff, and you got to know some of the other board members. And so there were a lot of changes going on at that time. And so Philip, who was at that time, the chairman of the board, asked Tony if he would do some strategic work to help kind of get everybody on better footing.
Yeah.
And so there you go. And then that became, oh my gosh, why don't you just become chairman of the board?
Yeah. And that's been a year. And how long have you, Tony, been there?
I became chairman of the board in November of 2019.
No.
Okay. Oh.
No.
2019? No, I'm sorry, 2018.
2018.
Yeah, see, it just seems like a short time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a really long time to the staff and the board. I'm pretty sure.
No.
And, Lynne kept saying, because we would go see Studio Tenn shows and just did terrific work. And we really, really enjoyed it. But I was back involved with the Shakespeare Festival when we moved back, and I was chairman of their board. And Lynne kept saying, you ought to get more involved with Studio Tenn. And at that time, I said, well, I don't know any of them. I don't know how I get more involved. I just walk in and say, hey, I want to be involved.
I'm here.
That's kind of what she did with Trish's help.
Well,
which is, Trish, it's easy to do with Trish. Hi, Trish. And so eventually, lo and behold, we do get involved, and we got heavily involved in Studio Tenn now. And I'm still involved with the Shakespeare Festival as well. But Lynne told me I couldn't go on boards of any other theater companies in the area. But nobody else asked me, so it's okay.
So what? Tell people, because I don't know that oftentimes, like I think I've spent 1 year of my life not working for a nonprofit, and so it's just kind of their boards have always been, in some shape or fashion, have always been part of what my world has been. But not everybody is familiar with like boards and nonprofits. What do nonprofit boards do?
Nothing.
No. Okay.
There's a wide contingency of what they do, and some of them are very hands off and will help bring in money. Mm-hmm. And some of them, which is more like us, are very roll up your sleeves, get involved, help in any way that you can. And I think that's what we as a board need right now. And that's but they're all over the place, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of boards operate on nonprofits, not just a theater, but either as a governance board or as what they call a working board.
Yeah.
And the governance board typically is a bit removed from the day-to-day and, really provides guidance and audit capability and that sort of thing, as a board should. Where a working board does that, but tends to get involved at a much deeper level and, act somewhat as staff from time to time.
Yeah.
And our board's a bit more like that.
Yeah.
And so the board is responsible for the fiduciary responsibility to the company and to make sure that the company is thriving and moving forward in the right direction, helping set the direction. They do it in conjunction with the staff, but the board has that ultimate responsibility to make sure that the company is doing what the company's supposed to do.
Yeah. And I tell you, to bounce back to me for a second, of all the boards that I have worked with, and we have not had this conversation, at least I don't think we have, I am so impressed with this board, with the numbers of people that are engaged and willing to jump in and help. And it's not just a figurative thing. It's like, okay, how can I help with this? And let me get in. And so, which is great. It's really, really great having that around.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, William, because I know you've got a lot of experience working with nonprofit boards, and nonprofit boards tend to have a bit of a reputation. When I jokingly said nothing, sometimes that's not a joke.
That's true.
Boards.
Yeah.
But we've got a great board. We've got a terrific board. It's very diverse in the skill sets and backgrounds. And, we've got people with theater experience, which you don't always have on a theater board, oddly. Right. And we've got people with absolutely zero theater experience, but they've got other types of experience. And, they really get involved. They bring those skill sets to bear and really use a different point of view to help guide the company. And it's just fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I've been on a few boards where, about half the board or maybe a third of the board's really doing anything. But in this case, that's not the case at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your time back here, what's been your favorite Studio Tenn show? Each of you, which one did you really like?
Oh, Johnny Cash. I think Johnny Cash was, as has been made fun of me in public before. Patrick Thomas. Yes. Obviously, that was before our current Patrick. When Patrick Thomas did I'll Walk the Line, wasn't it? And they ended the first half with him doing that backlit in red and him standing there holding his guitar. My heart leapt out of my body. I thought Johnny Cash would have loved to be able to do that well. I mean, and it was powerful and that whole show. I mean, I think Laura Matula does a lot of the charting of that music and the way they, redistribute, I don't know the official way of saying it, but the way they arrange, thank you, the music so that it works for 4 women or 2 guys, and that in what is so typically known as Johnny Cash music. I mean, that was just an outstanding show.
Yeah.
I would say that's really what hooked us on Studio Tenn. We went to that first season, which might have been 2015, I guess. I'm not really sure. But I know Fiddler on the Roof was the first show of that season. And we thought, well, that was good. That was really high quality work. And we were impressed with it. But when we saw the Cash Legacy, I think it was that same season, we saw the Cash Legacy. One, the whole legacy concept's a unique concept anyway.
Yeah, it is. And,
you tell people I think Matt Logan used to refer to it as a theatrical concert. And you go, well, what is that exactly? And you think, well, it's just a bunch of people singing Johnny Cash songs. How special can that be?
Right.
Well, until you see one, and all of them have been amazing. Like Sinatra, we did, last year, was fantastic. But that Cash Legacy just really hooked Lynne and I both, and thought, oh wow, this is cut above everything around here. Okay. And we've just been in love with it. All the performers, and a lot of those same performers are still performing with Studio Tenn in different shows. And those were amazing.
And I think, William, to go back to your other question about comment about how the board is involved, I think that's part of it. I think when you see that kind of passion, when you're touched viscerally, you want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You want to make it, you want to be a part of that excitement and see if you have any way to contribute to it to make it any better.
Right.
Different.
Yeah. That's great. So you guys, I know that you're involved like in other nonprofit work. You do Shakespeare. Are there other nonprofits that you're part of? I know you're very involved in your church.
Yeah.
Yep. We are. We're missing Wednesday night Bible class to talk to you, William.
Oh my goodness. I feel, is that one of those things where there's like a millstone tied around my neck because I have led you astray?
We won't know. We go to Lindsley Avenue in downtown Nashville, and it is a little bitty church, but with a very different kind of mission for probably a Church of Christ, because most of the churches of Christ in this area are big suburban churches, and there's not a lot of downtown churches. So it's kind of a unique opportunity. We have a large percentage of the people when we're meeting, which of course we're not right now, that are unhomed. And so it's a great opportunity to serve and do mission work without ever having to leave town. So yeah, that's part of it. I'm president of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, which is sort of like an HOA for people who live in downtown Franklin. We're part social and part advocacy. And that's really fun because it's a great way to get to know, the folks who live right around. And it is a cast of characters that live in downtown Franklin. And so
there's a play to be had there.
That's
absolutely, yes. And I think I've asked you this before. Do y'all use the Nextdoor app? Do y'all do that? Is there like a Nextdoor?
Occasionally I do. Yeah.
Well, so let me tell you what I think that you are missing out on right now is because I don't think that y'all have a downtown Franklin swimming pool. And if you had one of those, there is a lot of discussion about the opening of the swimming pool.
I heard that from a friend of mine who lives at Franklin East. Frankly, on the east side of Franklin today, they said it's a hot topic right now.
It has been, I actually follow it, and at some point, I don't know. I'm not going to comment. I'm going to stay out of it because I don't care. I don't care if I don't really swim that much. My wife is very interested. I don't know if you heard that, but yes, she is very much interested in the swimming pool opening.
And you have to be careful what you say, William, because those people may be watching,
Yeah, it's true. But it has been some of the best entertainment. So I wish that you had one of those that y'all could be.
I'll tell you, William, I brag far and wide about living in downtown Franklin. I think it's a great place to live.
Excuse me for a second.
I like to tell people I'm Southern by birth and downtown Franklin by the grace of God.
There you go.
But we do have a downtown swimming pool. A lot of people don't realize it. We call it the Harpeth River, and it's been open the whole time.
Right.
You could go down there and canoe up and down it. If you fall out your canoe, you can swim. You can swim.
Yeah.
But mostly in the Harpeth, you could just stand up and it'd be all right.
Yeah. I've never thought about that before. It's probably not very deep at all, is it, at any point?
Not that I know of. I don't know it very well. I'm sure there's a couple of deep spots in it here and there, but it's not terribly deep. I don't believe it. It doesn't look like it would be.
Yeah. So what would you say, when you think about, and you guys are just such a massive part of Studio Tenn, and it's great because you guys you're definitely not just like the figurehead type board members. I mean, you're involved and you give blood, sweat, and tears to this. What are your dreams and goals for Studio Tenn? What do you hope for? What do you want to see one day?
You said it. We have our elevator speech for that because it is a clear vision that we want Studio Tenn to be a regional powerhouse because we have all of the opportunity and the talent here to do that. And for Franklin and being the cultural center of Tennessee, Nashville, let them have their parties, that's fine. That's good. But I believe there's so much opportunity for Franklin to be the very hub of the cultural center of Tennessee and maybe the Southeast as we move on. No one hardly ever leaves a Studio Tenn performance without the intention of coming back to another one. It's just a matter of getting the word out there. And you guys have done a really good job, even during this COVID, of helping spread the word. Okay, what did I leave out?
Well, the other things I would add to that is exactly right. We've got all the history and music and all that here in Franklin and the whole Middle Tennessee, Nashville area. That's fantastic. But my vision for Studio Tenn is to become one of the well-known, nationally known regional theater powerhouses. I know that's what the original founders, Philip and Marguerite and Matt, were all gunning for.
Right.
And Jake came in and helped do it. And I like to tell people we stand on the shoulders of giants to get where we are now and move this thing on to the next level. And, different theaters, certain theaters around the country are kind of known for certain things. Like in London, you know the Globe for Shakespeare. You know the National for new works. I want Studio Tenn to be known for musical theater. Now, we do straight plays and all that, but we're going to be known for musical theater. And if you were just dropped in America and said, where is the best musical theater in America? Well, it should be in Music City, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And I know we're in Franklin, Nashville's up the road, but it's all the Nashville Music City area. All the musicians live out here anyway. So the other thing I've said to the board and I've said to the staff, and I know they probably think I'm crazy, is I will be satisfied when we can put a regional Tony Award on the desk there at the office and say, look what we just did. And I've been to 2 theaters. Todd worked for one of them in Signature that have regional Tony Awards. And I thought, well, if they can get them, we can get them.
We can get them. That's right. I like it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And the whole idea is that whole idea. If you want to do something really big, well, the first thing you do is think of it and then do it. It's really 2 things: think of it and then do it.
Think of it. Do it. I have John Maxwell is, huh?
Yeah.
And so he was a part of a friend of mine was a worship pastor at his church. And he's in Florida, and they were having lunch one day, and he said to a friend of mine, he said, Michael, he said, the difference, the only real difference between me and other people is that when I have an idea, I do it. And so there you go. Yeah. So he just sets that goal and I'm going to get there and get to it. So, hey, a couple of comments are off of Facebook here. One, we've got Jessica from South Dakota.
Wow.
So, yeah. Thanks for watching, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica. That's great.
And then right here, I think y'all know this one.
Aw.
Oh, I've heard of her.
You heard her. She wants to know what we think about our new artistic director.
What do we think about him?
I think he's awesome.
I think he's incredible.
I think he's got everything we need.
Yeah.
Including beautiful hair and teeth. I mean,
that just gave Lynne another Patrick to be excited about. It's going to be dangerous if we have both in the room at the same time, which I think we've done that.
Meredith said, did she say beautiful haircut?
Yeah. So, she did. She said beautiful haircut. Exactly.
Absolutely. That's it. So.
No, I'm so excited to have Patrick here and Melissa. And, I tell people all the time that was an amazing get for Studio Tenn to be able to get a hold of both of those folks, convince them to move across the country to little old Franklin and set up shop here and use their capabilities, use their artistic skill, their personal passion, their Rolodex, as we see on Studio Tenn Talks on Sunday night. That Rolodex is pretty extensive at 7 o'clock on Facebook or Studio Tenn Talks. To get all that capability for us to have is just amazing. And I think it was a huge win for us. And that too is going to help us propel this company to be the top musical theater in the country. Yeah.
I think so.
Melissa, since Melissa asked the question, I know she's watching, but I would say this otherwise. She is amazing in her own right. I mean, she is phenomenal. She's been teaching my niece, and Judah is overwhelmed with the passion and the quality of her instruction. And she's just been so excited to work with Melissa, and Melissa's fun too.
Well, the two of them are just the epitome of what we do: song and dance.
That's right.
So,
and I tell you, and they're both. It's interesting. And I think that they're both watching, and so we can talk about them. It's interesting to me that they're both very good teachers as well. They're both very, very, very good at teaching. I've enjoyed watching that. And I tell you, and Melissa commented here that Patrick's blessing. And I'll say this, and I may be speaking out of school a bit, but one of the things that I've loved about doing this talk show is that everyone else doesn't see, is that to a person, when these things are over with, his friends that are on with him, generally, they'll all hang around after it's over. And I've got these little boxes where I can see people and everything. And then when it's over, and when they talk to a person, each of them have told Patrick how much they loved him and appreciated him. And they do anything for him. And those kind of relationships, those are earned. And that's the other thing that's just been all so good to get, with Patrick is just, he's just a good person. He's just a good, genuine person. It's great to be around. And you owe me, Patrick. And so, But no, I just seriously mean that. I mean, it has been just phenomenal for me to watch him getting to talk with his friends like that, and just the relationships. I mean, it's incredible. We're fortunate to have him here.
We watched Sunday night with my mother, and she commented, "Well, he seems like a really nice person." I said, "He really is a really nice person."
I said, well, he's an actor.
I said, it is so, he's so genuine, and what you see is what you get. And I think you see that reflected in the relationship that he's showing with those people too, because they all seem like really nice people too.
They do. They really, really do. And those things have been great. And just the lineup to come it's great as well. There's gonna be some good folks on talking. And so,
and the other thing I've noticed with that, and I've had other people comment on watching conversations with Patrick. Patrick himself, as well as each of the people he's had on there, are people who have been on that Broadway stage, and they're the same people that the audience goes out and hangs out by the stage door to get their autograph after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of the star of the show. They're a big deal on Broadway. Patrick, as well as all the people he's interviewing. But when you're watching them do that interview, it doesn't feel that way at all.
Right.
They're just two people sitting in your house chatting about their background and funny stories they've had together, and they just seem humble is the best way to put it. And you think, well, gosh, the things you're doing, it's hard to believe, but they are. All of them are. But
what's even better is the guy who's producing it.
Oh, wow.
He is an amazing job.
No, he is.
That was very cool.
Yeah. So it's been fun. This is not something that I was ever expecting to do a whole lot, but it's been fun to learn how to do and just kind of, get to do on the fly. But hey, I meant to ask you a while ago, we're going to jump back for just a bit. And I can't remember the name of the building. One place in London that I never made it to that I always wanted to go it's the building where the top of it opens somewhat and there's a garden on top and a restaurant.
Oh, the Shard? Is it the Shard?
It's not the Shard. It's the one that's like a bread basket. It's kind of got the rounded.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
I can think of the name of the building. There was a restaurant up there, right?
Yeah. And they can the roof can open and close some, and it's pretty high up. And there's a restaurant, and there's like a big garden and trees and stuff up there. And so anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the building.
Was that in Kensington? Was it in Kensington?
So I tell you what. So let's go back to the Tate for just a second. If I'm looking across the river and St. Paul's is dead ahead of me, it would be to my right and across the bridge.
I don't know.
Yeah, and so I can't remember the name of the building. It's one of those places that I tried to book dinner there 2 or 3 times and never was early enough to get it and wanted to do it, but they just wanted to hit.
I'll find out. I'll let you know.
I figured out. So if you guys, thank you again for doing this. This is a lot of fun. And if you could say anything to the Studio Tenn audience, what would you say?
Be patient. Be patient. We will be back.
That's right.
This whole coronavirus thing has just knocked live entertainment in the dirt for a while, and not just theater, but concerts and festivals, all those things. We need your help. We need your support. We need you to help us survive this situation. We know there's a lot of essential workers out there doing things, and we know there's a lot of other entities like our friends at One Gen Away, who's trying to keep everybody fed, that really need your time and attention and money and support. And by all means, help those folks, by all means. But once we all get through this really difficult time, you're going to want the theater there to entertain you, to make you laugh, to make you cry, and to tell you the story about what you just went through. And we will be back to do that. And just be patient and wait for us.
Yeah. Lynn?
Well, as the development director, I'm not sure I would have mentioned One Gen Away.
It's hard to compete with.
I know. They're good guys and they do good stuff. But save a few pennies for us. Because I tell you what, when we have that regional Tony Award, you want to be one of the ones that said, back when we went through COVID and they were having a tough time, I helped them out. I'm one of the reasons they have that Tony Award. So you have to invest now.
Yeah.
To be a part of that success later.
Get in now. So yeah.
Look, at the bottom of the screen right there.
Right there. Yep. So thank you guys so much for doing this. Thank you for all that you do for Studio Tenn. You know, as we've talked about a whole lot of times, you know, I've been around Studio Tenn forever because of relationships with the different people that were there. And now I'm obviously much more involved, but I just appreciate all that you guys have done to take it to the next place and all the work that you do. And really, yeah, I mean, people that are watching, I should say, Tony and Lynne give everything they possibly can to help see this succeed and to see that dream succeed, the dream that they have. And it's exciting to be a part of. We're going to get there. We're sure going to get there.
I want to say to you, thank you.
Yeah, that's what's
thank you for all that you're doing. You are carrying a huge load on your shoulders for the company. I know you're doing a variety. All of you are putting on different hats all the time to keep things going. And I really, really appreciate it. And not only that, but you're a thrill to work with. And I just think that's fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
I'd like to say that about the rest of the staff as well. Thank you all for persevering. Thank you for getting us to where we are and getting us to where we're going to go.
And having an amazing attitude all along the way. Yeah. Always looking for another opportunity and what's the next adventure and how are we going to do this and we'll figure it out. That's priceless. That's just priceless.
It's been fun. So thank you guys. And we'll be back here Sunday night with Patrick. He'll be right here with me and he'll be on this side and I'll be on the other side next time, but we'll be here with Jason Danielly, and that should be another great discussion. So thank you all and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, William. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Make us go away.